winter. Now I know winter's almost over, but it's never too late for wintry stories, and this one is a particular favourite of mine. It centers around a very magical wizard whose name was Spiridon. Now Spiridon, he held ambitions, and these ambitions was to rule every village, every kingdom, every continent, I guess, in the world. He wished to rule it all. Now, other powerful wizards saw his ambitions, and they grew frightened, so they banished him with a magical barrier around a forest quite like this one. And so he lived out his days. But they forgot to take from him his most powerful weapon, and that was the whip, woven from the hairs of the white Wolverine, a great magical beast. And with it, he held the powers of winter. This was his domain. He could use all the powers of winter in a wintry setting. But he wanted to break free of his banishment, so he practiced day and night, his own magic mixed with the powers of winter, day and night inside of his house, inside of the forest. But one day, just as he was about to become powerful enough to break his banishment, his whip was stolen right out from under him, from the people of the Mountain Kingdom. He vowed to get his whip back. He wanted it. He needed it. Without it, he could only do politics. Now generations passed, and Spiridon still lived out his days in banishment. Until one day, a young man by the name of Alec came wandering through the forest. He was looking for adventure, like most heroes do. Now, Alec was very different. He wasn't exactly human. He wasn't exactly not. If anything, he was part animal. He had pointed ears and fangs and claws. It was very strange indeed. But, of course, he still had a heart. And so whenever he found Spiridon, all feeble-looking, a sad old man living in isolation, he took pity on him and asked him what was wrong. And Spiridon told him he had been wrongfully accused of a crime he did not commit and was banished to this forest. And the only thing that could break him free was taken away from him by the kingdom of the mountain people. Anyway, Alec told him he would retrieve it for him, and he headed off to the mountain kingdom. Now, scaling the mountain was relatively easy for Alec because of his different capabilities, and whenever he reached the peak, he looked out and saw a wide arrangement of village houses and buildings, and in the center was a large palace. So he started to walk among the townspeople. At some point, he came across a large group of people gathered around this one lady. Now he asked a nearby townsperson, "Who is this?" And the person said, "This is Arisha, the princess." And so he reached to the center of the group and asked her if he could speak with her. She said yes. So he led her out, and he told her of Spiridon's woes and of his own, and she listened intently. And then afterwards, Arisha told him that she had no recollection of her or her people stealing anything from any wizard, mostly because it had happened quite a long time ago. Now, Alex said, "Well, where do I find the whip?" And she said, "Well, there might be somewhere." Now, the mountain people were very well acquainted with the likes of dragons and other beasts in the area. They even had dragons as pets almost, and rode them like horses. And so, she knew of the wisest dragon of them all. They called it Grandfather. And it was in the side of the mountain in a large cave, and she told him the cave held gold and jewels and priceless artifacts and magical items. And she was sure that if it was anywhere, the whip would be in there. So they mounted Arisha's personal dragon and flew off and looked around the side of the mountain until they found the cave. And then they landed and went in. They began to see the gold, the jewels, and the items. They found the dragon himself. The great grandfather dragon, the wise one. Finally, he called out to them, "What do you want?" Alec replied, "I am looking for a magical whip, the whip of the white Wolverine. It was stolen from a friend of mine, and I wanted back to give it to him." The dragon said, "That is one of my most prized possessions, for I stole it from a powerful wizard who wanted to use it for only evil. But if you want it, I will give it to you if you answer me this. He who makes it has no need of it. He who buys it has no use of it. The person who uses it can neither see nor feel it. What is it? Alec thought long and hard on this. He finally came up with an answer. He said, a coffin. The grandfather dragon said, yes, this is true. Now you may take the whip if you can find it. Alec and Orisha began searching. Finally, Alec, looking at a wall behind him, saw long claw marks, and inside glowed blue energy. He reached in and produced the whip of the White Wolverine. It glowed with power in his hands. Having their prize, he and Orisha mounted Orisha's personal dragon and flew off back to Spiridon's home. When they reached Spiridon's house, Spiridon came out and welcomed Alec with open arms. Alec realized something. The wizard was neither bent over, nor feeble, or sad-looking old man. He was happy and straight-backed and strong. Alec didn't know how this was possible. He was a completely different man than what he left him with. And then he thought of what the dragon had said, that he had stolen the whip from somebody who wanted to rule the world. Spiridon reached out for the whip, but Alec drew back. The wizard told him, demanded him to give him the whip, but Alec said no. And Spiridon became very, very angry. He pushed his hands up in the air, and using the bit of magic he still had left inside of him, he summoned a great white fox. The fox was feral. It lunged toward him, knocked him down to the ground, but Alec, using the whip to shield himself, put the whip in between the fox's teeth, which bit through it and broke it. The whip's energy released in a great wave, and the fox disappeared. Spiridon yelled, "No!" He was being drained of his magic. He shrunk in size and became feeble again. Suddenly, he turned into snow itself. He stared in confusion at the small pile of snow, and then dropped the severed whip next to it, left the forest, and never returned. Well, there you have it, a grand story about a very different wizard. Wizard of ice magic, of evil. And yet he still got beaten. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I would like to thank my good friend Megan for providing me the character of Orisha Verova, Princess of the Mountain People. Thank you so much, my friend. And as for everybody else, thank you for watching. This has been truly a huge storyline that I've been excited about for many months. Thank you for staying in there with me. I haven't posted in a long time. So there's that. Have a fantastic day and month, or whenever I see you again. May it be a good meeting. Very well, my friends.